Ata for the sound of the bell. Mind calm, body at ease, breathing quiet, sentiment benevolent. Dharma friends, sitting still in vital silence, wanting nothing, we practice Eco-Buddhism together. The sound of the temple bell booms for all to cease from conflict. May the way of Buddha usher in the dawn of non-violent global village forever. Here is the after sound of the bell. Thunder of silence, light after Dharma rain. Om Amoga Vairocana Maha Mudra Mani Padma Chavala Pravartaya
Please stand and let's join together from the 10 directions in the chanting of the 3 refuges. Please bring your hands together in Hapchang of sincere heart and chant with us from wherever you are. Chi Shim Quimyang Ne Shivang Samse Chenmang Chale Sangshu Ilshe Puttaya Shishim Quimyang Ne Shivang Songju ilshe And in English, I go for refuge to the Buddha. I think I'm getting it wrong. Is it right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's start again. I go for refuge to the Buddha and resolve with all beings. I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment and realize the great way. Making bow. I go for refuge to the Dharma and resolve with all beings. I will penetrate the teachings and uncover oceans of wisdom. I go for refuge to the Sangha and resolve with all beings. I will seek peace and happiness for the many and transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded. Please return to your seats, to your postures, and we are going to have a guided meditation in this little period. It takes about 5 to 7 minutes, and then we'll, as usual, have our Dhammapada reading by Maum, and then there'll be a Dharma talk. So please sit down in your places. Some of you may remember my story about how Allen Ginsberg told me the breath was most important. And so it took me a while to really understand that by my own experience, by practicing with breathing in many different ways. So this particular meditation written for us and crafted for us by Joanna Macy is called Breathing Through. And we'll make it available for you in the e-bulletin so that you can practice it if you wish to on your own as you develop routines during these times. So I'll read, and please, while listening, be sure that your posture is aligned. So bringing your hip bones a little forward, just a very little. Your sternum, micro move up, shoulders down and a little back. And shoulder blades together, just very subtly. There's a sense of spaciousness and clearer energy as the spine thrives with good alignment. In fact, the whole body does. So remember, if you feel a little slouch, to go back to alignment. A little reading first. Basic to most spiritual traditions, says Joanna, is the recognition that we are not separate, isolated entities, but integral and organic parts of the vast web of life. We can open to the pain of the world and our own in confidence that it can neither shatter nor isolate us, for we are not objects that can break. We are resilient patterns within a vaster web of knowing. Because we've been conditioned to view ourselves as separate, competitive, and thus fragile entities, we need to relearn this kind of resilience. One way to practice simple openness, as in this exercise of breathing through, adapted from an ancient Buddhist meditation for developing compassion, follows. Please breathe in, closing your eyes. Focus attention on your breathing in and out. Don't try to breathe any special way, slow or long. Just watch the breathing as it happens, in and out. Note the accompanying sensations at the nostrils or upper lip, in the chest or abdomen. Stay passive and alert, like a cat by a mouse hole. As you watch the breath, note that it happens by itself, without your will, without your deciding each time to inhale or exhale. It's as though you're being breathed by life. Just as everyone in this room, and there are 3 of us, in this city, on this planet now, is being breathed by life, sustained in a vast, living, breathing web. Now visualize your breath as a stream or ribbon of air. See it flow up through your nose down through your windpipe and into your lungs. Now from your lungs, take it through your heart. Picture it flowing through your heart and out to reconnect with the larger web of life. Let the breath stream as it passes through you and through your heart appear as one loop within that vast web, connecting you with it. Now open your awareness to the suffering that is present in the world. Drop for now all defenses and open to your knowledge of that suffering. Let it come as concretely as you can. Images of your fellow beings in pain and need, in fear and isolation, in prisons, hospitals, tenements, refugee camps. No need to strain for these images. They are present in you by virtue of our interbeing. Relax and just let them surface. The vast and countless hardships of our fellow humans and of our animal brothers and sisters as well, as they swim the seas and fly the air of this planet. Now breathe in the pain like granules on the stream of air, up through your nose, down through your trachea, lungs, and heart, and out again into the world net. You are asked to do nothing for now, but let it pass through your heart. Be sure that stream flows through and out again. Don't hang on to the pain. Surrender it for now to the healing resources of life's vast web. With Shantideva, the Buddhist saint, we can say, "Let all sorrows ripen in me." We help them ripen by passing them through our hearts, making good, rich compost out of all that grief, so we can learn from it, enhancing our larger collective knowing. If no images or feelings arise, and therefore it's only blankness, gray and numb, breathe that through also. That numbness is a very real part of our world. And if what surfaces is not the pain of other beings so much as your own personal suffering, breathe that through too. Your own anguish is an integral part of the grief of our world and arises with it. Should you feel an ache in the chest, a pressure in the rib cage, as if the heart would break, that is all right. Your heart is not an object that can break, but if it were, they say the heart that breaks open can hold the whole universe. Your heart is that large. Trust it. Keep breathing. And then Joanna says, breathing through, once we learn it, becomes useful in daily life in the many situations that confront us with painful information. By breathing through the bad news rather than bracing ourselves against it, we can let it strengthen our sense of belonging in the larger web of being. It helps us remain alert and open, whether reading the news, receiving criticism, or simply being present to a person who is suffering. Making bow to Joanna Macy. There are many offerings for us in this Saha world. Now please bring your hands together in Hapchang of sincere heart. Again, fine-tuning your posture so that it is aligned and therefore your body, mind, are more spacious, more attuned. The reading is from chapter 3 in the Dhammapada, Mind, second page.
How can a troubled mind understand the way? If one is disturbed, they will never be filled with knowledge. An untroubled mind, no longer seeking to consider what is right and what is wrong, a mind beyond judgments, watches and understands. Know that the body is a fragile jar, and make a castle of your mind. In every trial, let understanding fight for you to defend what you have won. For soon the body is discarded. Then what does it feel? A useless log of wood. It lies on the ground. Then what does it know? Your worst enemy cannot harm you as much as your own thoughts unguarded. But once mastered, no one can help you as much, not even your father or your mother.
And taking a few breaths and moments to be with that reading of the words of Buddha. sunlight and shadow in this room of meditation at our Sangha house this morning. 4 of us helping to make this happen. Outside, bright sun, clear sky, and the rhubarb is coming up. Spring has sprung, and the seasons continue. Truly welcome in from the 10 directions. I'm not sure who's here, but a very warm and good morning to each of you. Tongsang, one of our members, was telling me when I asked, how is it to do this kind of thing at the University of Michigan, where she's teaching classes? She said, it's just weird. It's weird, Hajin. Of course, Tongsang says it in her special way. And she said, it's just not the same as having the people right with you. And certainly I feel that in this moment. And I think in the meditation hall, the Buddha hall, where we usually have our services, this service is now happening at the altar in our new Sangha house. But when I'm at that service, I can picture so many of you where you usually sit. You know, Sabong and her husband Paul usually sit on the chairs. And over there, right down the center, Robert and Vi on the bench, usually with a big warm blanket around her. And on the left, Jim Anderson, Nogo Chu, Mary O'Brien when she's able to be with us. And in the middle, all the characters, Jo Nam, Michael Smith, who when he comes in often leaves eggs on the altar. Yeah. Further down, Mo Sam Sam when she's able to be with us. Jen and Kate spread around. Many others, Anya. I'm not remembering you all, but I can remember your faces. And I'm also remembering outside of our temple location here, Song Yu up in Lorien, northern Michigan. You know, he comes down for retreats sometimes. And folks in Grand Rapids, Onsu and Susan and their family, as well as Sanjong, Mike Noack. And in Florida, an old resident has been in touch with us by the name of Dee. And I do not know who all else, but I'm really happy that all of you might be here with us this morning. I guess that I'd like to start with just a little personal story, then talk about the great Prajna dragon boat story, get into a little sutra study, and then looking at some special practices during these times. So the story has to do a little bit with this. It's kind of one of the ways, I don't know if you can see this, it is this little platform is where I had my Buddha. It's kind of an Eskimo Buddha that was given to the temple many years ago by some of our older members. I think they have both died. One I know for sure, the other moved away, and I haven't kept up in touch with her. And that Buddha left with one of our residents for her altar where she had gone to be with her family. And so the little pedestal was empty. So I looked around, what could I put on it? And I first came up with this owl that my granddaughter sent to me, Eve. And then there was this little bird that Noemi left behind. She's one of our members one day, and I've been keeping it for when she picks it up again. And from our library came this little wax bird, because one of the really great pleasures I have these days is to look at the birds out the window, and now I have these little birds on the altar. But that's not just the story. The story is that I have keeping in touch with my family, my daughters in Buffalo and in Illinois. And my Buffalo daughter often phones with her almost 1 3/4. Let's see, how old is Azure? He's almost 3, a little short of 3, I think. And she FaceTimes with me. And Azure wants, me to see Nanny. And so I end up, it's very dull for him actually just seeing Nanny. So I figure I have to do something. So yesterday I ran and got the owl and showed him the owl, and we did a little hooting and he could name it. And then I got the rest of the birds, and he saw all these birds. And so that lasted about a minute and a half, and then he was bored and went off. Okay, so that was fine. A few hours later, there they were again. Azure wanted to see Nanny, and I knew that his attention span seeing Nanny is very short. So I went and tried to figure right on the moment, how could I be with my grandson, even just for a minute. So I got the owl again, and I was chopping broccoli for a soup. So we did a little skit, the owl eating broccoli, and had a little dialogue, because Azure likes to eat broccoli too, and so does the owl. And in the midst of it, the owl gave a little fart. And of course, he really laughed. And he did a little fart too. And that was it. Then he was gone again. So this is in place of my altar, so I can look out at nature. And it's also how I can sort of be creative when this particular grandchild shows up on my FaceTime screen. I wonder what your version of it is at this time as you try to help out with family members and others in your particular web of life. Yeah. Let's put it back on the altar. Yeah. Okay, so then I like to share with you a story that I often share at the ends of retreats, especially Yongmen Zhongjins, which are held 4 times a year. And because I think we are all on a kind of retreat right now, it might be meaningful to you. I hope it will be. It all started on a pilgrimage to Korea that I made. I think it was 1982. And during that time, it was 3 months, a little over 3 months, we went around to a lot of monasteries, sometimes many a day, sometimes we stayed at one for 10 days. What I noticed is that there were big murals on the sides of the monasteries. They have these murals of the life of the Buddha, the special, his birth, his enlightenment, beginning the teachings, his death. Also, there's other pictures about various aspects of the Zen tradition, Bodhidharma meditating in his cave. And one picture and mural that was particularly striking, and they're really big murals, I would say like 4 by 12 kind of murals up. It's for the time when people are not so literate and that they could really learn by looking at pictures. And in this picture was of really choppy waters, really big waves, and a boat making its way through the waves. And it's called the Prajna Dragon Boat. It had a big dragon neck and head at one end, and it had a very big dragon tail with spikes in it at the other end. And in the boat was someone at the very front who looked like the compass person trying to get, as it said, the Prajna dragon to the other shore. And at the back, there's a person steering the tiller, like I guess you would in a sailboat, to keep the boat on course. And it's a very big boat. So there are lots of people in the boat, and some are bailing because the waves are so big that they're getting right in the boat. Some are meditating. It seems like some are praying. Some are reading, and I would say probably scriptures. Everyone is very intent to do their contribution to get to the other shore, including in the waves, there's pictures of bodhisattvas who seem very calm. In fact, everyone seems quite calm because they're very intent on what they're doing. So there's the bodhisattva of great compassion, Kwanseum Posel. The bodhisattva of great vows, willing to go even to hell to be of assistance, Jijong Posel. Munso Posel, with the sword to cut through and find wisdom, the sword of, what would we say, cutting through illusion to find wisdom. And then there's Boyun Posel, the bodhisattva of great deeds. And in fact, as we'll see later, there are all kinds of bodhisattvas out there with different names. And so that boat, with everyone's effort, including the bodhisattvas in the waves, reaching the other shore. We say the other shore is the shore of awakening, the shore when we really realize our innate Buddha nature. So after the Yongmen Zhongzhen, we think that we have been, the 10 of us, the 15 of us, the 25 of us, the 5 of us, have been like folks in the Prajna dragon boat. And at this time of history and this time of the pandemic around our world, we each are in a Prajna dragon boat. And then together we are in a huge Prajna dragon boat, if you can imagine it, trying to be of assistance, to help ourselves, knowing that everything that we do also affects others. This is the spirit of the great Indra's net. I think you've heard of it, but let me review for a moment that Indra's net is this net that has a jewel at every knot, and it extends over the whole universe. So everyone and everything is included. And the jewels at every knot reflect all the other jewels and knots. And if one part of the net is touched, then the vibration that goes out affects the whole net, the whole universe. So is our situation that we are all in this together, and that we, in each of our Prajna dragon boat, we do, each of us, the best we can to care for ourselves and others. So that's the Prajna dragon boat. I would love it if people would maybe draw it, see what they imagine, so we could all see it and we would put it out in the e-bulletin. Next, I want to look at what's called the Tathagata Garbha Sutra. I received it from a teacher in the Zen tradition, Jiko Tisdale, in Oregon. And she had been investigating it, and I began to too, and was really fascinated by it. The Tathagata Garbha means Buddha Nature Sutra. And I'm going to share some details about it with you now. And I think that as I share these, I also would like to encourage you to get out some Buddhist sutras and reflect upon them and simmer with them and be in a cauldron with them, because it's wonderful to call upon the wisdom of our ancestors, and especially the Buddha. So in this Tathagata, I'm going to Tathagata Garbha Sutra, I'm going to read a little bit from it, some special parts. So it was, the Buddha was at a place called the Sandalwood Pavilion, which is near Rajagaha. And he had attained Buddhahood apparently 10 years previously, and it was accompanied by an august assembly of hundreds of thousands of great bhikshus and a throng of bodhisattvas and great beings, 60 times the number of sands in the Ganges River. What an assembly! And all of them had perfected their zeal. So there's, in the sutra, there's a great list of the names of the bodhisattvas, and I will not sort of read them all, but I picked out Bodhisattva Dharma Mati, Bodhisattva Boundless Light, Bodhisattva Surpassing Sublime Fragrance, Bodhisattva Not Irrelevant Views, Bodhisattva Great Thunderclap, Bodhisattva Independent Dharani King. And so it went on. Together, these were with incalculable devas, nagas, yaksus, Gandharvas, Asuras, Garudas, and on they all gathered to pay their respects and make offerings. So there was the Buddha in the Sandalwood Pavilion, and here was this august assembly. And then the Buddha sat up straight in meditation in the pavilion, and with his miraculous power put on a miraculous display. And there appeared in the sky a countless number of 1,000 petaled lotus flowers that were as big as cartwheels, it said, filled with colors and fragrances that one could not begin to enumerate. In the center of each flower was a conjured image of a Buddha. The flowers rose and covered the heavens like a banner, each flower giving forth countless rays. Then the flowers withered in an instant, and each Buddha within issued forth countless 100,000 of rays, miraculous. The whole assembly rejoiced and danced ecstatically. I think the pronunciation is wrong. And then it's interesting. So this was kind of like fireworks. You know, it was really something that the Buddha seemed to be trying to get everybody's attention. And so one of the bodhisattvas, Bodhisattva Vajramati, stepped up and he said, please, what is this all about? You know, what are you trying to teach us? And the Buddha responded, because you can imagine if there was a huge fireworks display. As a matter of fact, we're in the midst of a huge fireworks display now with the pandemic all around the world and everything that we hear about it. There's a whole, and we're not getting up and dancing ecstatically, I don't think, but our attention has been gathered big time. So Vajramati said, what's going on? What are you doing here? What are you trying to teach us? And at that time, Buddha spoke to Vajramati and all the others. There's a scripture named Tathagata Garbha. It is because I want to expound it to you that I showed you these signs. You should all listen attentively and ponder it. All said, excellent. We very much wish to hear it. The Buddha said, and he called everyone Kolaputras, there is a comparison that can be drawn between the countless flowers conjured up by the Buddha that suddenly withered and the innumerable conjured Buddha images with their many adornments seated in the lotus position within the flowers who cast forth light so exceedingly rare that there was no one in the assembly who did not show reverence. In a similar fashion, Kalaputras, when I regard all beings with my Buddha eye, I see that hidden virtue within the kleshas. And kleshas are unwholesome mental states. Greed, hatred, confusion, obscuration. And the Buddha said, seated within that is august and unmovingly the Buddhist, august and unmovingly the Buddha nature. So he's trying to really make it clear that there's this Buddha nature, which he has attained, which is within every single person. And then he goes on with many, I would say maybe 15 examples to bring it home. So he keeps repeating it, which is the custom of his, if you've read sutras, that he makes the same point over and over again. And so one of the ways he explained it is that what if there was a hidden treasure under our house, but we didn't know it? So in the same way, we have this same kind of treasure, but because of our kleshas, these unskillful mental states, we do not know it and we do not function from it. So he really says that his mission is to really help people to get in touch with their own Buddha nature so that they can be fully functioning and fully in service of others and develop, I think I would interpret, great love in service, not only of themselves, but others. So Buddha nature, we, in spite of all the things which we often experience with ourselves these days, inside is this precious Buddha nature. So the next thing I'd like to share with you, besides this, we've all got this very potent Buddha nature, which can be our medicine for these times as we uncover it for ourselves. Then we have what's called in our tradition the 5 remembrances. And I'll ask you once again to align your posture, whether you're on a chair or wherever you are. Your hip bones a little forward. Your sternum very little up. It's very subtle movements. Your shoulders down and back. And your shoulder blades very slightly together. Just allow your deepest listening to prevail to these next truths. So we're going in with, we've all got the Buddha nature. The 5 remembrances. These 5 remembrances help us to identify and look deeply at the seeds of fear. They can be recited daily, read aloud as a guided meditation, or used as a silent meditation by individual practitioners. Again, we will send you these in the e-bulletin as you begin to develop routines for your days and your life. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There's no way to escape being separated from them. I inherit the results of my actions in body, speech, and mind. My actions are the ground on which I stand. It's hard to be reading these things and saying these things and not seeing you. I only hope that somehow they're helpful. I've talked about routines. And when the Dalai Lama asked what was the most important thing about spiritual practice, and I think he would refer to our lives as well, because spiritual practice really is our whole life, not just some time that we spend in meditation practice. His answer was routines. And I know for myself that routines keep me in stability, in more peace, better sense of humor. Yeah. And less chippy. And sometimes kind of dopey, thinking of the 7 dwarfs. I would be dopey. So at the temple, over time, in a greater perspective, we have retreats. Here we have 1-day retreats and 4-day retreats and 5. And in our tradition, they go up to 3 months very often, 3 years often, though not here, more where our tradition originated from in South Korea, and even 6 years. When I was in Korea, I revisited a nun's temple that was in the process of doing 6-year retreat. So our whole life supposedly could even be a retreat. We establish some routines, and especially right now, important. So let me tell you about retreat routines so that you can see how you can also perhaps create some retreat routines for yourself. So usually that we get up in the morning and we right away use the washroom, wash up vigorously. It's a tradition in the monasteries to go down to the stream and splash the stream water and even the gravel by the stream, invigorate the whole body mind with rubbing wash down. So a little bit of getting up and then doing some exercise. Early morning is a good time for exercise and a little set exercise. Then prostrations and meditation, chanting, some work, and then breakfast. And after breakfast, sometimes a little rest. This is the retreat schedule. Then more meditation, lunch, rest, work in the afternoon, and then a little meal in the evening. A little meal is best in the evening. And then another period of practice, meditation. And for some of you, all of these things could be changed. Then we go to 10 o'clock when we retire and sometimes stay up a little later for some extra practice and then have good sleep. Usually by that time, we're ready for a good sleep. We've been out during walking meditation, sometimes to the park, sometimes around the yard. We've worked usually outside if weather permits, and we've helped with preparation and cleanup for meal preparation. Now, remember, Sunam said to me, our teacher, the founder of this organization, when I first had my daughter, Garima, we lived across the street from the temple, and I would sit in meditation with her in my arms, nursing usually, to keep, that's what she would keep still and be very quiet. And then after my husband had got back from the temple, he would take her and I would run over for an interview with my teacher. We're just across the street. And the first time after the birth, when I had an interview, he said to me, Haju, my name was Sukha then, he said, Sukha, your practice is Garima. In other words, your practice is your baby, your daughter, your child. So when I talk about retreat routines, it will be different for each of you because some of you have children and usually children become full focus. So remember that that is your practice and how to work with that into routines is a way for you also to be doing retreat and the kids too. I know my own grandkids really thrive on routines. And so how to do that for ourselves. And there are lots of different practices, but the time is coming really to an end. So I just want to, because we'll continue over time to give you practices. And I'd like to hear from you about what you're concerned about, what you would like guidance with. If you're interested in scriptures, I can be of assistance to help to point some out and where you can locate them. All of us here, and I know our training students and Dharma guardians are really wanting to be available to help you in, as we all in this Dharma Prajna Dragon boat, doing this retreat, that we have a beautiful opportunity in if we take it in a perspective of gratitude and silver linings. So I just want you to know that we're continuing morning, noon, and evening practice. Please join us if you can. Morning starts at 6, noon at 11:45, and evening at 6:30. We have divided the residents, so those who are coming and going are Plasma who's mostly staying, are in the temple building. And those of us who are older and more susceptible are in the Sangha house. So we practice together in the Buddha hall, 6 feet apart. It's wonderful to see the cushions all set out like that. And then we eat separately in our various houses, and we set up work practice. We've had one meeting about our whole new garden that we're going to put in between the buildings yesterday with Jen, who has been coordinating that. And I'm excited to announce, besides starting to put in walkways and raised beds, that we're going to have chickens. Chickens apparently can really take care of the compost. We were trying to figure out how to build a compost bin on the property. We've never had much success with it. Composts are great, and what we could do when we were able to get it running well, we would certainly put it on all the gardens. But chickens apparently do the best with compost, and then they give us some wonderful compost back to put in the garden. So I'm excited to say, over here, we're going to have chickens. I think 8 is what the number that we can have. And Jen and Kate are going to start by building the cage for them. And rhubarb is up, chives are up, all bulbs are up. There's really wonderful signs of things keep renewing themselves over and over again. So may that be the case with each of you. May you see the silver lining, may you feel the gratitude. Maum put it well, to see where I put her. She said, "It warms my heart that generosity prevails during these difficult days. This is how we will weather the storms together. And lots of other people have been contributing as best they can, including Spencer and Jagwa, who are here with us to do this computer equipment and internet connection equipment. I hope by the end of this, whenever it might be, I will also be somewhat able to do it myself. So wherever you are, thank you for your efforts. Thank you for keeping in touch with us and with each other. And we'll be back next Sunday. In the meantime, Maum has some announcements as usual. So I'll turn the camera to Maum. Is she there?
Just a little more. There you go.
There she is.
Good morning, everyone. We're very grateful to have you with us this morning. And I especially want to thank our technology team that made this possible. So we have Spencer Field, Jagwa, Kelly Davenport, Kusa, Ivan Meyerhofer, and James Decker, all of whom helped us set up this equipment and come to you virtually. This is a maiden voyage for us, and I think it went pretty well today. Next week, as we become more experienced, we're going to add a chat box so that you can respond in that particular way. The temple, as you know, is pretty much closed, shut down for in-person meetings. If you wish to join in meditation practice at 6 a.m., 11:45 a.m., or 6:30 p.m., please do that from your home and in your hearts. As we perfect our technology, we may offer some of those events online as well. Other events at the temple, precepts preparation will begin April 5th, and we will have online links that we send to those of you who are participating. Next week, we begin a practice period with Kogi, Jennifer Ratliff Moss, on self-compassion. That too will be offered virtually. So the place to go for updates about what's going on at the temple is either our Facebook page, or you can call the temple, or you can email us. So try those 3 methods to get in touch with us. The e-bulletin also, okay, our technology person is helping us as well here. So the e-bulletin will continue to be published on a regular basis, and you will see the practices in the e-bulletin that Hutchison has referred to. Those who are in affinity groups, please be in touch with one another. This is a great opportunity for self-organizing. I believe today, Tongsan, for example, has organized a virtual tea time, and we have committees meeting online as well. So this is a new era for us. We do appreciate your ongoing donations, either by mail or sent through PayPal or some other electronic means, helping the temple keep going during this coming period. We do not know how long this period will be, but we're all in it together. So Yahoo for the Prajna Dragon Boat. Let's keep going. Goodbye for now.
So let's then finish with the 4 great vows. Mom, could you lead us and people will see you? These vows are especially worthy of great reflection right now.
All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Blind passions, one root, I vow to terminate. Dharma gates, one mind, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to realize.
One moment at a time. Yeah, please be in touch with any feedback or questions. We're here for you. Bye.